Hey guys, so I'm gonna do a remake on how to clean a carburetor on a Lawnboy mower, and so we'll do that. Alright, so the first thing you're gonna need to do if your lawnmower has a fuel shutoff valve, you're gonna need to turn it off. If your lawnmower does not have a fuel shutoff valve, then you can just take a siphon pump and just suck out all the gas out of the gas tank if you still want to reuse your gas. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is we are going to need to take this guard off. It's held on by two nuts. These two right there that you see right in front of the muffler. We'll need to take those off. Alright, so we'll remove those nuts. So we need a size 13mm socket. We'll just take those off. Got that one removed. We'll get this one off. Alright, so we got those nuts off. Set the mower down. Just pull this part off. And now we got that guard off. And I think just make this a little bit easier, I'm going to take the shroud off. So it's held on by 4 Phillips screws. Just take a Phillips screwdriver. We'll just remove these 4 screws. And I'll get back to y'all once I get all these screws off. Alright, screws are off. Shroud should just come right off, just like that. Alright, now we can make it a little bit easier just to get over to the carburetor. So now we're going to need to take this thing here off, just so we can be able to take the carburetor off. So we got to take off 5 Phillips screws. There's 2 right there, 1 there, and then there's 2 more on the bottom. So I'll get those off. Alright, so we got all 5 of those screws off. And then we got that off. So we'll just kind of move that away. So now we got access to the carburetor. We can take the carburetor off with these 2 Phillips screws right here, and we'll start taking the carburetor off. Alright, so let's get this carburetor off. Just got to remove these big Phillips screws. Start getting this one off on the left side. Alright, that one's loose enough. Now we'll get this one. And it's just dropped down. And she's off. Alright, so yeah, the outside of this carburetor is kind of dirty just by with using it. But that doesn't really matter. What really matters the most is the inside. Just for this. I know, a little filthy over here. Alright, so there's a nut right there, so we need to remove that. Using a a 13mm wrench or a 1/2 inch. We are just going to remove that nut. So we got that loose a little bit. Take that off to get the bowl off. Now gas is going to leak out a little bit. Not too much gas because we got the fuel valve off. Alright, so there's the nut with the gasket. And we'll just pull the bowl off. And we'll just take a look. A little bit of dirt particles in there, but the carburetor itself is actually, it's pretty clean. Now if you were to do a really good clean on these carburetors or a rebuild, you can just take this pin off, which that's what I'm doing here. And that will, the pin off, just that way that will remove your float and also the needle. Real carefully to pull it off. You don't want to lose that needle that you see right there. And just to check it to make sure it's all clean, and also make sure the tip of the needle is all clean, which this one here, everything on it is really clean. Or if you're also doing a complete rebuild, you would just spray all of this with carburetor cleaner, and also along in there too, which is where the needle seat would be. You would have to just remove the needle seat, which in this case you don't really need. So I thought I'd just show you all the float here. This float here is plastic because most carburetors nowadays will have plastic floats. Now on some Lawnboy mowers, the ones that would have the plastic carburetors, I think the floats on them are made out of cork. So yeah, so there's the needle right there. It's all nice and clean. And we'll get back to with the carburetor. So what usually gets dirty on these carburetors, you see a hole right here. This will get all clogged up with some dirt or some varnicized gas on it. This helps allows to feed fuel over to the main jet. So that's what part of this hole is. Part of it is a jet. You just take like a little wiggly wire from either a tie wrap or you can cut off a piece of wire from a wire brush. Just shove the wire down in the hole, kind of like that. It'll help clean it all out. And there's another hole. I know it's kind of hard to really see. There's another one from way over there, from underneath. Alright, oh yeah, you can see it now. Yeah, sometimes the hole right here will also get clogged up too, so just shove that piece of wiggly wire in there. Oh, I can't quite see it. Yeah, I know, I can't quite shove it in there. It's hard for me to, I can't really see it. So you guys get the picture. You just take the wire, just shove it in there, kind of wiggle it around. That'll clean it all out. But in this case, don't really need to, because this carburetor is relatively clean. And so we'll start putting it all back together. Alright, so before I just start to get this all put on, I'm going to kind of wash off the bowl here with some carburetor cleaner. If you're doing all this, make sure you're wearing safety glasses too, because you don't want the carburetor cleaner to get into your eyes. That can burn your eyes. Alright, let me get a clean rag here, or a shop towel. Just kind of wipe the bowl off really good. And she's all nice and clean, as you can see. Got a nice clean bowl. Now, on the most common problems though, if there's like some corrosion down on the edges of the bowl, you would need to replace your bowl, and you would need to replace that gasket though, because that can cause problems with your lawnmower. It won't run properly because of an air leak. Alright, so let's start getting the carburetor put back together. So let me grab the float. So we got our float here. Alright, so you want to make sure that needle goes down into that hole right there. Just like that. Alright, so let me grab our pin. Make sure we are all lined up, and we'll just stick the pin back in. Hang on, let me get it. I'll just get the pin in. Alright, so now get the bowl back on. Just goes in just like that. And let me get our screw with the gasket. I'll just get it hand tight, and then we'll just tighten it on with the wrench. Alright, so now it's time to get the carburetor back onto the mower, while at the same time trying to line up the gaskets, which that can sometimes be a bit of a pain sometimes. So I'm just going to kind of get all started. This air van, which I forgot to mention, this is actually the governor. There's like a little ratchet. You would kind of turn it either way. I think if you turn it to the right, that will help make your engine run faster, and then turn it to the left just to make your engine run slower, just to help regulate, well, helps like tensions the tension of the spring. So we'll need to put the carburetor in just like this. So there's another gasket over along there. Just gotta make sure these are all lined up with one another, and then we'll tighten the screws. Alright, so we got all our screws in. Whenever you tighten these on, you want to make sure you tighten these on evenly, just so that way it goes on there nice and evenly, just so that way there will not be no air leaks, or otherwise your mower will not run right. Alright, so we'll need to have the intake hose back on. We'll tighten up the 5 screws. Alright, so we got all 5 of the screws in. So now the next thing we got to do is put the shroud on. Goes back in, just goes right in just like this. If we can get it in there. Yep, there we go. We just got to find the holes, and then now we'll just start getting our 4 screws. Yeah. I'll just put them on by hand just to get it all started. Okay, so there's 1 screw. There's 1. There's 2. And I'll get the other 2 screws on. Alright, and the last thing that we got to put on is this guard right here. So first, there's a hole. Got to put it in from at the very back end from back here. There's a hole that's from right underneath the gas tank. Just put it in like that, and then the front, just line up its 2 holes. Goes in just like that. And then just get our nuts put on. Just get those on hand tightened. Alright, so got that one. And the other one. And then I'll just tighten those on with the wrench. Alright, so we're all done now. So that's all it takes though to clean up the carburetor on a Lawnboy mower. Kind of goes similar to with other brand of engines on other lawn mowers, like either Briggs & Stratton or Tecumseh's. Actually, the last thing, turn on the fuel valve. And we'll start it up too. We'll give her a start. Let it sit for about maybe a minute though, just before you do try to start it. Kind of allow the gas to get down into the carburetor bowl. And this will also would be even a good time to also inspect for any leaks. And it looks like that I do not see any leaks at all. So I'll let this set up for about maybe a minute and we'll start it up. Alright, let's see if it'll start. Alright, key on. It's on choke, and let's give it a pull. Yeah, and she just runs perfect. It's kind of hesitating a little bit because it is a little cold out here. We've had a freeze, I think, just for the last, yesterday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning it got down pretty close to the low 30s. There's a town just about an hour north of here called Denton. It got down to 22 degrees. So yeah, that's kind of crazy though, for it to already be that cold at this time of the year, especially here in Texas. So yeah. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. So thanks for watching.